Canty and Carlin.
When I look on social media, somebody wishes you a happy birthday, and then you retweet it with a comment, or you go ahead and repost it on Instagram. Oh, look, somebody wished me a happy birthday, and all of a sudden you've got 55 Instagram stories of somebody wishing you a happy birthday.
Keyshawn Johnson, Jay Williams, and Max Kellerman.
Diana Rossini is here.
My husband and I, we're taking our first trip without our children, without our babies. I think he's going to have a hard time. I'm going to be like, see you later.
When you go somewhere with your kids, it's not a vacation, it's a trip.
Yeah.
You take a trip, but it's not a vacation.
When we talk about kids at the beach, talk about hell on earth.
TJ and Max. Mornings on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. NBA Today.
Head coach of the Denver Nuggets, Michael Malone. Did you ever imagine the moment would feel like this?
Honestly, I did. We kept plugging away, and everybody talks about the journey. For me, it's more important is that who you're on that journey with, and just as important as the fans that we have. But they've been phenomenal.
NBA Today, weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern, only on SiriusXM NBA Radio, Channel 86, and the SXM app. On Give and Go.
Co-host of Jay Will, Keyshawn and Max, daily on ESPN Radio. It is Jay Williams. The Denver Nuggets are NBA champions.
My whole thing coming into next year is to prove it again. Because for me, I want you to put a stamp on your greatness.
Give and Go with Rick Kamla and Antonio Daniels. 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern, weekdays on SiriusXM NBA Radio, Channel 86, and the SXM app.
Head coach of the Denver Nuggets, Michael Malone. Did you ever imagine the moment would feel like this?
Honestly, I did. We kept plugging away, and everybody talks about the journey. For me, it's more important is that who you're on that journey with, and just as important as the fans that we have. But they've been phenomenal.
NBA Today, weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern, only on SiriusXM NBA Radio, Channel 86, and the SXM app.
Set your mouth on flavor with Melinda's Craft Pepper Sauces. Recently, Adam Shine spoke with Melinda's co-founder, David Figueroa.
What sets Melinda's apart? To me, as a consumer, you can taste it. I mean, you could feel it.
So, our slogan is set your mouth on flavor. It's a play on words, like set your mouth on fire. No, flavor. Even our hottest ones, you can taste the flavors in that. You can taste the carrots and the onions and the garlic. It's not just your typical hot sauce. This is something that mixes in with your food. It's culinary. It's something you can cook with and enjoy with all the meals, every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Melinda's is the best.
Tell everyone about the Melinda sample pack, because honestly, I don't leave home without it.
We call it our mini liquid spice rack, so no one wants dry stuff all over their food. It doesn't even stick. The best thing is a sauce. We have a 10-pack. So you got a little 2-ounce bottle. You can throw it in your pocket, in your purse, your bag, and you can have hot sauce everywhere you go.
Are there any special offers for my listeners?
Use promo code Adam and you get 10% off the sauce. Valid all the time. So yeah, check out Melinda's.
Hi everyone, Jim Mackay here. You may know me better as Bones, and you may have heard me in the past chatting up my favorite clothing brand, Johnny O. Well, I'm back because Johnny O is just that good. Johnny O performance polos are without question the best in the business. UPF 50 sun protection and moisture wicking fabrics coupled with slamming colors and beautiful designs make for the perfect shirt. And did I mention Johnny O's button-down shirts? Absolutely off the charts. You must experience the patented tweener button, a hidden button that bridges the gap between too buttoned up and not buttoned up enough. Please trust me on this one. I mean, who has a patent on a button? Johnny O performance polos are without question the best in the business. Check out JohnnyO.com. That's Johnny-O.com.
Deserve the best. With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritize customer care. Plus, get access to Stitcher Premium podcasts and over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
The association can be redefined with one simple announcement.
The first pick, the San Antonio Spurs select.
Hear every franchise-shaping decision on SiriusXM.
Wembanyama, 3-pointer number 4.
Listen to NBA Radio for interviews with the top prospects and analysis throughout the week.
There's nothing he can't do as a basketball player.
Then tonight at 8 Eastern, hear every selection of the NBA Draft on Channel 86 and the SXM app.
I'm at our ESPN LA studios. You may remember that Bev did a couple of days of work for ESPN last year.
No, I remember. I was on with him.
He left a gorgeous Dolce & Gabbana suit here that is just spectacular.
You should wear it on TV today, Brian.
I do not believe it will fit me, only because the arms are too long. You're across the street. Come over and get it. It's got to be at least a $7,000 suit.
The Hoop Collective Podcast. Listen on the ESPN app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
At the end of the day, I'm just playing basketball. I'm having fun on the court, you know. It's just a game. I got really, really high expectations for myself.
Growing up watching Paul George, kind of modeled my game after his. Definitely one of the players I would love to play against. He recently just followed me back on Instagram too, which I feel honored about that one. Then we got a good personality, a good person, and also you see what I can do with the court. So I can catch the ball somewhere, I can shoot the ball somewhere, I can attack the basket, play defense as well. And you get an all-around player and an all-around person.
Azar's gonna push it up to a man Euro!
I feel like the bigger adjustment is gonna be not living together rather than not playing on the same team. Because we're both just basketball players at the end of the day. Play this anywhere, I feel like we'll definitely be good.
Guando Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe. And that would be you too. My goodness, NBA players tonight getting ready for their reparations. I thought reparations was supposed to happen for Juneteenth. And these good old boys are about to get their reparations tonight and give them some praise. A lot of their dreams will come true tonight. That's how it should be. Everybody should have the feeling of an NBA player being drafted in the first round. That's why reparations will be important for all people of descendants of chattel slavery. Yeah, I do it different. I'm keeping it real, get that some praise. I love what's going on. Gonna be cutting into some of the live draft of the NBA players. Won't bring it all to you, but I'll bring enough of it to you if that makes sense to you. I love saying that today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton Big C Sports sent you, as well as it's driving a fleet of Cadillac cars all over the universe. But you better have your seatbelts on. There's a lot of energy tonight for the NBA draft. You can follow Big C Sports Podcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 27 podcast applications all over the universe. You're streaming up 4 TV applications on podcasts. You can find us on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Spreaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. You can also follow Big C Sports on GeoSavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa. Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Podyssey, Podcast in Public, Good Pods, and the only one that used to scare me, but now it doesn't. It's allfeeds.ai. Give that some praise. The robots are taking over. But you know, I gave you a solution yesterday. If the robots start taking over, we have the Teddy Pendergrass button. It's called Turn Them Off. You know, I don't have a problem saying this because I'm in touch with my feminine side. But do you know, whenever I hear Teddy Pendergrass, give me some praise. Turn off the lights and light a candle. Girl, there's something I want to do. Okay, I don't sound like Teddy. Don't laugh at me. But I like. You want to get embarrassed? Try to back up Teddy Pendergrass. But I've mastered the part that made him famous with making babies all over the world. When you come into the room and you ready to get your groove on, and you got some Teddy Pendergrass on, he says, turn off the lights. And you don't turn it off right away. And then this is what's produced more babies than any song in the history of the universe. I can guarantee it. The first time he says, turn off the lights and light a candle. If you don't turn off the light, Teddy says, turn them off. In that moment right there, that crescendo has produced a lot of babies. It's not just my story. I heard it from a little birdie. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcasting like no other podcaster in the universe, because I produce the show. First of all, my show is always fresh. Oh my God, today's been one of the most amazing days. Oh my God, anything that's round, it's amazing. You ever have alchemy where it feels like you've been there before? I produce the show. I do it fresh daily, like beautiful soup, like beautiful curry soup. I love curry soup. Try it sometimes. But I always produce the show. That's number one. Number two, I direct all the topics. Number three, I broadcast all the shows. Number four, I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I know I could use more laughter. It's important to laugh. The commercials are done. The stats provided. The storytelling. The play-by-play. Steph Curry for three! Bang! I love today. It's amazing. Lots and lots of energy today. And then the show's uploaded to 27 multiple podcast platforms out of New York City to go all over the universe. And then 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And then I never missed a show since creating Big C Sports with the crew back in the days of Salem Media. You either lead, follow, or get out of the way. But don't hem and haw. There's a book called Who Moved My Cheese? And I think it's by Spencer Howard. I read it back in the day when I was at a fork in the road. And there were 4 mice. One called Hem and Haw. The other was called Hurry and Curry. It's curry, but it's a play on words. And in life, you can hem and haw over things, or you can hurry and curry, or scurry. Mutually beneficial. In life, there are times the world is like, I feel like when I was a young boy, I was working as a sky cap, and I met Barbie Eaton of I Dream of Jeannie. And she used to twinkle her nose and say, yes, master, what do you want? And I feel like God is saying that now. It feels like God is saying that now. That's why I'm asking for $6 billion. $6 billion. Because it's there. I love what I do with the Big C Sports Podcast. I'm going to talk about the NBA draft tonight. But I'm going to call it reparations. Give reparations some praise. I guarantee you, when people say, I don't believe in no reparations, that they watch the NBA draft. And these young men, most of them black, are going to become millionaires tonight. When they because they're going to sign their rookie contracts, and then, they're millionaires. But more important than that, they were able to open up that gland in the brain. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's called the pineal gland. The unconscious depth of nature is how pastors have told me how you talk to God. That if you see in the kingdom what you feel or need to have, and you ask him if that's what he wants you to have, then ask. There are times when things line up in your life that you have no conscious control over. 80% of all thought is subconscious. Sometimes you just get traffic, it flows in the right direction. You meet someone that just opens doors for you. You meet someone that says, how can I be of help to you? How can I be of help to you as a human being? What can we achieve together? That's the total opposite side of the universe. Of people that are trying to tear you down and trying to be rude, intentionally rude. And sometimes when you're dealing with people who are intentionally rude, you might think, well, I'll just put up with it. And then the Heavenly Father sends somebody out of the universe that shows you that you deserve to be treated like a king, a prince, a shining prince. And I give that praise because they're out there. Don't get used to someone trying to tear you down. Let somebody build you up. And that's important. Heart, mind, body, and soul. I love doing that. You know, I just feel so grateful. I want to say for our Veterans Crisis Hotline, they really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Those good old boys, I'm telling you, there's a lot going on in the world of sports. And I'm going to bring you into some of it just now.
No.
As the NBA draft
did this 10 minutes ago.
with Victor Wembanyama, he get drafted by the San Antonio Spurs, and everybody thought he was going to go first. So let's give him some praise. But our Veterans Crisis Hotline, they really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know, anybody going through issues, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give it some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. We all need somebody to lean on, because that's what life is about. To have someone to lean on, and I really do appreciate that. But having somebody lean on you is good. It's like when you have a kiss from the universe. Sports betting can be good, and it can be bad. If you have the money and you're making money, of course it's good. But if you lose your money, then it can be bad. 800-GAMBLER, if you like dealing with things that can be good or bad. I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then he said, let there be light. So many things we do appreciate about doing Big C Sports Podcast. I love it so much. I'm going to do a little bit different show tonight, as I always do. And I want to always say, my goodness, I want to thank so many people along the line. Associated Press, Janie Harr wrote a story on Big C Sports and Reparations, the only sports podcaster in the universe that talks about reparations on the sports show. And she also mentioned President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Governor Gavin Newsom of California, Senator Stephen Bradford of California, and Reparations Task Force Chair Member Camila Moore. Sometimes when the stars line up, reparations are supposed to happen for descendants of chattel slavery. I talked about it yesterday. You can Google Survivors Today Act of 2017. The Justice for Uncompensated Survivors Today Act of 2017 is United States legislation that requires the State Department to report to Congress on steps that 47 countries in Europe have taken to compensate Holocaust survivors and their heirs for assets seized by Nazi Germany and other post-war communist parties. And we give them a lot of praise for that. They deserve it. And next are descendants of chattel slavery, because we just do. Even United Nations Human Rights Chief calls for reparations for descendants of chattel slavery. And I one for sure agree with it. We deserve it. We all deserve it. I'm so proud of it. I'm going to talk about some things that I think are so important. There's a lot of movement in the NBA today. But more important than this, I want to touch on the California Reparations Task Force, their 16th meeting. Let's make history with the final report. Join the last in-person meeting. It's Thursday, June 29th, 2023 at 9 a.m. at the Mark Fong EU Secretary of State Building at 1500 11th Street, first floor auditorium, Sacramento, California. And for people that aren't sure about the reparations, go to oag.ca.gov/AB3121/meetings, and when you do, you get at some praise, because it's out there for everybody, and I love being a part of that. The task force, the members that are going to speak is the chair, Camila Moore, also Dr. Amos C. Brown, Vice Chair, Senator Stephen Bradford out of California, Council Member Monica Montgomery Steppe, Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. We also have Lisa Holder, Dr. Cheryl Grillis, and there's a few more people, Dr. Jovan Scott Lewis and Donald Kay Tamaki, and I want to give them all praise for putting in diligent work. If they just follow the plan that's happened for our Jewish brethren, then everything will be fine. And it's going to happen because they're going to follow the plan. We all know that. That's so important to me, that the plan is followed. It's nothing new. Everybody knows about it. I just want to say I'm so grateful. I want to give that some praise again. I just love so much about the NBA. It's my second favorite sport behind football, but everyone can say football is the number one sport in the United States because it is for me. I'm going to do my family legacy a little bit different tonight because I just want to. I think it's important, and there are a lot of good things coming on the horizon. I really do appreciate speaking at the National Black Wall Street Project last week in Los Angeles, California. Really had a great time doing that. Met a lot of wonderful, powerful people. So I just appreciate everyone that made that happen. And I want to give that some praise. Also came across a great rapper, entertainer by the name of Double O. An amazing rapper, intelligent. Really do appreciate her. I really do appreciate so many great things that are happening to people. May God open every door in the universe so you can rise and shine to the top. Double O, keep her in mind as you're out there watching for some of the best entertainers on the planet. Really do appreciate her. I want to pay homage to my beautiful family legacy, and I just want to say it's important to me. My beautiful mother's side, my great-grandmother, called her Mama, beautiful, loving, kind woman, always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. And then my beautiful great-grandfather called him Pop, former military man, and former Negro League baseball player, the World MacGyver, can fix anything, planes, trains, and automobiles. And then my beautiful grandmother called her Madia, beautiful, loving, kind woman. She was a seer. She could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. I've been having a lot of those moments happen in my life, how I've just been seeing like deja vus all over the place. Like I've already been there before. It's amazing when God lines things up for you. It's easy. Like the sky is more blue, the air is more fresh, and the ground is more soft. And give that some praise when God opens your eyes and brings things into you. Really do appreciate that. And then my grandfather Hezekiah, another wonderful person, a seer, could oftentimes look at a person, tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and then also coaching all boys, the Little League baseball team, to the championship of the universe. Give my mama some praise. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and then coaching all boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Always saying rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. And in fact, at the church, everybody wanted Mrs. Curry's cooking. At a restaurant, everybody wanted Mrs. Curry's cooking. And at home, everybody wanted Mama's cooking. She said, son, how many plates have you had? And I said, Curry for 3. Like a lot of the NBA players tonight, they want to shoot threes. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. The best person I ever met in my life. Just amazing. And then on my father's side, my grandfather, Albert Curry, he was a pastor. He had 2 churches in Oakland, built the 3rd church in Central California with his own hands. And then he also owned 40 acres of land, like the Emancipation Proclamation, where Frederick Douglass was working with President Abraham Lincoln to craft the Emancipation Proclamation, where every free black person was supposed to get 40 acres and a mule, because black Americans helped the Union win the Civil War. Without the help of black soldiers, the Confederates would have won. And that's how we became the United States. But when Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson came along and he vetoed the bill. He gave the land back to the Ku Klux Klan and the segregationists. Could you believe that? Wanted to enslave the original people of the planet. And people who say, well, why did God let that happen? I don't know the reason for that. I'm sure that even God has to wonder why he let that happen. Doesn't make any sense to me. But also what doesn't make sense is that we have yet to pass reparations in the United States for descendants of chattel slavery. And that's a fact. But it's going to happen this year. It's going to happen. You know why? Because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. The words of the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. If you can't run, then If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward and give that praise. And then my beautiful grandmother, Alberta Curry, working side by side with my grandfather with the 2 churches in Oakland, building a 3rd church in Central California, and then also working with the 2 gas stations in Oakland. I was 8 years old walking through a hallway. I was a little boy. I was on my way at 10 o'clock at night. I was on my way to get something. She touched me in my forehead, and she said, "What are you doing, young man?" And I said, "How in the world did she hear me walking in the hallways 10 o'clock at night? She normally goes to bed at 8:30. But I said, she said, "Are you going to get some more cookies?" I said, "Cookies are baby crap to what I'm doing. I'm going to get my reparations." I was just as passionate and loud then as I am now. But she touched me on my forehead, and she said, "There's something about your voice. I just love hearing you speak." And now Big C Sports Podcast is on 27 podcast applications all over the universe. It's streaming on 4 TV applications. I'm one beautiful, intelligent black man, and I am thanking God to open up that next level in life. The hardest part about air flight is when you're taking off. Once the plane gets into the heavens, 20,000 feet, 30,000 feet, it goes on cruise control. It flies easier. The hardest part is when you get it off the ground. I thank my grandmother for prophesizing over my voice. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot's chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. My father's the first one to tell me about the SR-71. He said it can fly from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. in 1 hour and 8 minutes. And those jet engines are in museums now. They can be put on 747s and cut the flight time down to maybe 2 hours, maybe even 3, as opposed to 6 hours. I'm going to bring in something on the NBA draft real quick.
With the 3rd pick in the 2023 NBA draft, the Portland Trailblazers select Scoot Henderson from Marietta, Georgia, in the NBA G League Team Ignite.
The great Scoot Henderson got his chance to get drafted, and everybody has their own thoughts. But I appreciate what my dad had told me over the years. In fact, in the Air Force, my father's roommate was the late Al Freeman Jr., who played the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in one of my favorite movies, Malcolm X, that was written and produced by the great Spike Lee and acted by my favorite actor, the great Denzel Washington. And I love the part when Denzel was given an award for saying, "Reparations now, reparations forever." But they said it was training day. But that's so much passion and what I want to experience from God. $6 billion. Yes, and I have a witness for it. $6 billion. It's all there. I thank God for opportunity. And then, again, my dad always saying, just develop your mind with his highest extent. Then my beautiful brother Todd, with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak, always saying go forward. A voracious reader, always talking about sports and politics. And one of our favorite movies was Pulp Fiction. I love the scene with Vin Rames and Bruce Willis had a conversation. Also Sam Jackson and John Travolta. But before the big fight, Vin Rames told Bruce Willis, he said, "Your butt goes down in the 5th round. Say that, blip." So Bruce Willis said, "Okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round." And he said, "In the 5th round, you're going to feel a stinking sensation messing with you." He said, "That's just pride flipping with you." And he told him what a lot of people are hearing in life. Blood pride. He said pride only hurts. It never helps. And I love what he said, that boxing's filled with a lot of unrealistic muddling gluckers who think that butts get better with time like fine wine, but it don't. If you mean in terms of vinegar, then it do. So take this money. If you were going to be the champion, you would have already been the champion. Take this money, go down to the bank, and get your reparations, and give me some praise. I mean, he said it better than I did. But his was scripted, mine is memory. Is it live or is it Memorex? I do mine live. You ever feel like you were hit by lightning? In a good way. It's called the apex. The universe has an apex. An apex is experience before life is produced. An apex is experienced when you press on that 500 horsepower turbocharged car. An apex is produced when you hit Curry for a three when he hits that three-point shot. An apex is produced by runners on first and third that counts for the pitch. Curveball, struggled, hit deep, left field, back to the wall, home run. They say hello to my little friends. They say the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. What is it about the girls that love the long ball and men that love to hit deep? Maybe it's human nature. The great Michael Jackson sang about it, if that makes sense to you. Really do appreciate that. Love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years from a major university. Just a beautiful, loving woman. I pray Isaiah 54:17 that no weapon formed against you will prosper. That every tongue that rises up against you shall be condemned. Daisy set up the very first interview for Big C Sports back at Salem Media. And we went on from there to become the first time in the history of the United States of America that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before. They would normally go to ESPN, the mothership. But I still get the letter from station management, called us the Dream Team. She said, Charlton, you don't need those other guys. And she was talking to me and my partner, said, you don't need those other guys. You got a gift. Also won a Bay Area Broadcast Excellence Award in San Francisco. But there's a lot of good things that have happened. And Daisy said she also will help set up in college courses that come to the West Coast and do work with Big C Sports. She scored 6 goals in a soccer game left-footed. I remember it like it happened today. Daisy for the kick. Daisy, goal, 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 goal. And she's right-footed kicker. But she did it with her left foot. Amazing athlete. Very smart, beautiful. I just pray Isaiah 54:17 that no weapon formed against you can prosper. You could be anything you want to be, but stay away from negative people. I love it. You can be anything. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College graduate, very smart, erudite, a good man. As I always pray, Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Malcolm actually helped me save trees. I used to always get trees, or newspapers made of trees, to look up sports for and stats for the Big C Sports Podcast. And one day Malcolm said, hey Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since, and now I'm on 27 podcast applications and 4 TV platforms. As I always say, I pray that God gives you everything your heart desires, that you deserve it. You're a good man. Always do right and be fair to people, and stay away from people who suck. The people who back talk about others behind their back. God hears it, and I'm just so proud of you. You can be anything you want to be. I pray that you have everything that God can offer you. And then I love you again with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Malcolm one day said, Dad, do you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. About a month later, Big C Sports Podcast was on TV streaming, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV, and I want to give Malcolm the praise for that. He spoke it into existence before it happened. That's why I say $6 billion is there. It's already given birth to it. That sometimes when God brings certain things together, certain elements, certain people, certain faith, certain pineal glands, it creates it like lightning. And you can't stop it. And it feels so good, you want more. Don't run from it. Don't make excuses. Had I listened to so many people that said, oh man, you don't need to do a podcast. You should go into a radio station and work. You should go and let the man tell you what to do. And I just never got accepted. But God opened up a platform for me to do my thing with my higher self. Not one of those radio stations that I interviewed with that were mainstream. Let me tune into another draft, the 4th pick.
The Houston Rockets select Amen Thompson from Oakland, California, in overtime.
That good old boy has Oakland in the house again. Oakland is something else. Oakland. A lot of great athletes come out of Oakland. And he has his reparations tonight. But I love my family with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Malcolm, you can be anything you want to be. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years. Like my great-granddaddy coming out of that barn, always saying, you got to believe, saying, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show with ESPN-nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no three-way teleprompters. Yeah, that's some praise. I have no producer in my ear. I just do the best I can with the skill and the gifts that God has given me. And I encourage everyone to. Whatever you want to be, sometimes you're waiting for somebody else to have the same faith and belief. And other times you're trying to help yourself, and then you're trying to help other people at the same time simultaneously. And it may not work that way. You got to help yourself first. Everybody has to pull their beliefs together and their alchemy and let God bring it to you. But there's sometimes you meet people and you want to give them what they want. You want to help them achieve what they want. You want to help each other pull that wagon up the hill. Don't stand back and say, oh, you're never going to make it. Oh, you don't know what you're doing. Oh, it's never going to happen to you. If you were going to be great, you would have already been great. I've heard a lot of stupid people talk that way. They don't even know, they don't even have God's presence inside of them. But I've given birth to a lot of great things lately. God it's come to me. I'm getting invited to be part of the National Black Wall Street Project all over the United States. Give that some praise. I just spoke at the National Black Wall Street Project Summit in Southern California. Now there are more things that I'm being invited to do. I just thank God for it. That $6 billion is coming. Give that some praise. It's all here. But you got to go out and get it. I just appreciate it. I really do. Today has been a miraculous day, and it's only going to get better. So I just want to give God praise for that too. I want to touch on this thing about the NBA draft. And a lot of players, of course, they're going to see their dreams come true. They have their own hopes, their own dreams to become the next great NBA basketball player. Already have talked about the first 4 players selected in the NBA draft, but everyone knows that 7'4" Victor Wembanyama, he went number 1 to the San Antonio Spurs, and everybody has their own thoughts. Scoot Henderson got picked up already. Charlotte. You know, a lot of things have happened too. Chris Paul's coming to Dimler Hills, California. Just more news coming in on that. Golden State Warriors sending Jordan Poole and a package to get that done. So today's show is totally different. And I get a chance to log in when they're having a draft player come up. I'm only going to go several deep. And for people that want to make their podcast shows come true, you just got to have it in your spirit to do it. And you can't listen to anybody that doesn't already have a podcast. I've gotten advice from people that don't even have a show. And they're saying, well, what I think you should do is you should do this. Oh, I think you should do it that way. And I say, well, let me hear your show so I can get an example of what you're talking about. Well, I don't have a show. I'm still working on it. Still working on it. God is so great. And today has been so amazing. I feel like a kid in the candy store. But sometimes you got to say, stop talking yourself out of a good time. There are times when people show up in your life that make life click. It just clicks. And they're not trying shenanigans. They're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes. They're helping you clear the fog. And when that happens, you just got to grab it and give God praise as it's happening. And so I really do appreciate that. I mean, I just think so many great things. There's a program in Northern California called Prolific Prep. And they're over there in Napa. And I met one of the coaches for that team back in 2018. I met him by going into a car dealership, and the salesperson of an Audi dealership, he told me that his son played basketball, and now he's coaching basketball at Prolific Prep. And now you have players being drafted out of that same great program. So no matter what people think about the path to anything that's great, you gotta take your own chances. Your own chances can make things come true. Adam Silver's about to come up and announce another pick, and the pick is in. So as soon as I hear it, then I'll tap into it. You gotta tap in, and here comes the great Adam Silver.
With the 5th pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, the Detroit Pistons select Asar Thompson from Oakland, California, an overtime elite.
Wow, that's another Oakland, California overtime elite. Some proud parents of Thompson family. 2 players being picked. They just changed their zip codes. They got their reparations to now. That's how every black American should feel getting your reparations now. They're getting to do it by the NBA draft. But it's something that they worked at. Northern California, Dimdare Hills has a lot of great athletes that have made their way out of Oakland, California, from the great Bill Russell. I mean, there's been so many of them, and he's, 11 championships, 11 NBA championships. Nobody will ever have that many championships in the NBA again, but he did it. I just appreciate so many great things that are happening in the world of sports, especially with the NBA tonight. Everybody has a dream about being the guy that makes it. First of all, we got to have a summary of what we want to do in life. Every day, putting together the show, I have a summary of what I want to talk about, and then I go extemporaneously. I don't script my show. I go by what's in my gut. It's like my mom would cook dinner, and she wouldn't have a recipe. She would just use her gut. I said, Mama, how do you know how much spice to put in, and how much cinnamon and nutmeg and a little bit of sugar, a little bit of butter, a little bit of lemon juice? And she just did it, mother's with, whatever it was. And that's how I try to do my show. And I'm not saying that I do a great job every time, but I do as good a job as I can at asking God for favor. So overall, if everybody was to figure out what they want to do and just write it down, oftentimes it can come true a lot faster. And when I think about the NBA, there's so many great players that have already played. And when you look at Wembanyama going first to San Antonio Spurs, Greg Popovich, that good boy has been doing something right. He's been doing a little bit of good living because he's had the great Tim Duncan. He's had the great Manu Ginobili. He's had this great player, Tony Parker. And now he has Victor Wembanyama, one of the best coaches ever in the NBA. And now he gets a new leash on coaching because another great player has landed in his lap. Give landing in your lap some praise. It's nice when somebody lands in your lap. It's a great feeling. But no matter how great these players are projected to be, and I wish them all the best, there are a lot of grown men that have to become unemployed for these rookies to earn a spot. You think someone's going to knock out Steph Curry or LeBron James? No. But there are players who have the chance to get into the NBA and figure it out. Can someone knock out Giannis Antetokounmpo? I would say not. I want to just touch on some of the top players, and you already have your mind set up on where they stood in the world of the NBA, and that's what these young players have to do also. They got to get themselves into that position. I'm going to look at a player called, you talk about practice, I'm talking about practice, man, not a game, but practice. Allen Iverson, that good a boy, he's on my list, one of the top 20 players in the NBA, 11-time NBA All-Star player, NBA MVP, 3-time first team All-NBA, 4-time NBA scoring champion, and member of the 75th anniversary team. And when he gave his speech, he said, reparations now, reparations forever. I want to hear these players talk about reparations and not pretend it doesn't matter. I got to also, I mean, people have their own thoughts with the great Scottie Pippen. He played with the Chicago Bulls, and people said he was just a sidekick for Michael Jordan. He was more than a sidekick. And when I think about him, Pippen is one of the greatest defenders in NBA history. He made 10 all-defensive squads, 8 first-team selections during his 17-year career. And he oftentimes would shift positions to pick up the opponent's best player. A dream team member, I'm going to put him on that list. Isaiah Thomas, a kid out of Chicago, they called him Zeke. And, you know, he had some off-the-field junk going on with several players over the years that kept him out of a USA Olympic selection team one time. But when you think about the Bad Boys, he was the steering wheel of the Bad Boys back in the day. And he played against Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird. He played against a lot of those great players. Zeke's 6'1", and he was amazing. Oftentimes had to shoot up over players that were much bigger than him. Obviously, he makes my list, one of the top 75 NBA. I got Kawhi Leonard, the Claw. I hope that he can stay healthy. Out of San Diego State, that amazing basketball player. MVP awards. I don't think people should knock him for missing some games. He's just dealt with some injuries lately. But he has 2 Defensive Player of the Years and 2 NBA Finals. And he's also put a franchise on his back en route to an NBA title. He made the NBA's 75th anniversary team. Obviously, with the San Diego Clippers, he's been a little bit injured at times, and I hope he gets better. I'm also going to put this year's NBA champion, Nikola Jokic, on my list. He's a kind of a quiet giant, if that makes sense. 7 feet tall, and that good boy. There's only one man that's got a 30, 20, and 10 game in the NBA Finals, and that was the Joker. He's one of the best big men of all time, and he's just he doesn't slam dunk, he doesn't fly through the lane like Giannis. He doesn't glide through the lane like what we saw back in the day, Patrick Ewing, or Clyde the Glide Drexler, or Michael Jordan, or he doesn't have the sky hook like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but he's just a steady player, so I got to put him on my list. I also got the great King Giannis Antetokounmpo. I tell you, this guy is so great. He's called, in my opinion, the Greek King, the Greek Prince. He belongs on the list. And some people say, well, he's too young to put him there. He's 26. He belongs on the list. Giannis is a 2-time regular season MVP, a Defensive Player of the Year, and just earned his first NBA Finals honors. Isn't that something? Had the greatest performance in a closeout win, and he's made 5 All-Star NBA squads. 4 times he's been named one of the NBA's all-defensive team, and he's still growing. He's definitely on the 75th, one of the top 75 players in the league. I just love his character, the way he composes himself, and I think Giannis is amazing. So I call him King Giannis Antetokounmpo. I know the mainstream wants to call him a freak because they think that's a compliment, and so that's what they say to their wives when they go home. Hey, what's up, freak? Hey, freak, how you doing, freak? When their babies are born, they say, look at that freak. And people say, oh, I would never do that. But they call this beautiful, shining black man, 7 feet tall, they call him freak, the Greek freak. Have you ever heard them called the white freak? Or any broadcaster, the female freak? Or any white man, look at the white freak broadcaster. They don't do that. Look at the white freak coach. Why do they get away with calling a black man a freak? And people say nothing about it. It's a shame. I call him a prince and a king. Call him a king and a prince and praise. But let people cuss you out in your face and you think it's great. It's not great. I got to also put on that list, in my opinion, and I won't get through everybody today, but I'm going to add Dwayne Wade, 13-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA player, 3-time All-Defensive Team member, one of NBA's scoring title, and a spot on the 75th anniversary team. And Wade came onto the scene in 2003 out of Marquette. He was special. He had the high-flying dunks like classic like Drexler, and he had the mid-range jumpers off that patented D-Wade pump, that pump fake, and just a solid basketball player all around. Definitely belongs on that list. I got to put in Moses Malone, the faux, the rare legend that bounced around the NBA during his days. And I'm going to go to the NBA draft.
2023 NBA draft. The Indiana Pacers select Bilal Coulibaly.
Bilal Coulibaly just got selected now. A high riser. What a great day for him. What is he saying? Reparations now, reparations forever. We'll never give him the reparations. I wonder if Big C Sports is the only podcaster in the universe that will talk about reparations. People avoid it. Sometimes the stars align and you feel good and miracles happen. The sky is bluer. Everything opens up. Just give God praise for that. It opened up for a lot of people. And the same type of attention will be given to reparations, at least from Big C Sports. I can guarantee you that. And I'm proud of these young men that are getting a chance to make their dreams come true. Moses Malone, he was known for playing 7 different franchises, and the association should not distract from the fact that he's easily one of the best centers of all time, a 3-time MVP, and 1983 Finals MVP. He was a 13-time All-Star, 8-time All-NBA selection, and a member of the NBA's 75th anniversary team. 6-time Moses, nicknamed the chairman of the boards, he led the NBA in rebounds. For 14 straight seasons, he averaged double digits. He was amazing. I think everybody has their own thoughts of how great players were, but obviously he was an amazing player. I want to go to Elgin Baylor. Never won a championship, but he was so solid. Never won a title in 14 years. He spent most of that in Minneapolis. But don't let that cloud what he's done. The number 1 overall pick in 1958, the NBA draft, Rookie of the Year in 1959, 11-time All-Star, an astounding 10-time first-team All-NBA selection, and Baylor's course resides in the NBA's 75th anniversary team as he more than lived up to the hype when he entered the league and left averaging 27 points and 14 rebounds per game. That's amazing. So he's a no-brainer for that list. I'm going to touch on one more player, and I think everybody has their own thoughts about it. I'm going to do my top 20 perhaps tomorrow, but I'm going to add another player that I think people maybe sometimes they might take him for granted, but he stared down Michael Jordan one time. Brother 7 feet tall, David Robinson, the Admiral. A true generational talent. And just a champion, a 2-time NBA champion, an MVP, 10-time All-Star, Defensive Player of the Year. Amazing. A 4-time first-team All-NBA player. And Robinson, in my opinion, had he been more vocal, I mean, he was so, you could tell the military training. He didn't have that extra it factor, but he was always very studious, like a military man. So he didn't have the swag that a lot of guys like, but he did average 21 points per game, 10.6 rebounds. Isn't that something? Just a solid player, but he just wasn't flashy. He wasn't flashy like some of the flashy players of the day, like a Giannis, like a Joel Embiid. He had the Hakeem, the Dream, Olajuwon. Wasn't flashy like those players. Not even flashy like Alonzo Mourning. He was like a military guy. But his numbers were at an elite level. He had athleticism. He was very chiseled as a center. This is obvious, a man that served the country. So that means he would not have gotten the GI Bill from the United States after coming home from the war. Served his country in the military. But he still hasn't gotten his reparations. I know sometimes people say, man, why are you talking about reparations all the time? The only people say that are the people who don't want you to have them. No one tells our Jewish brethren, man, why do you guys talk about the $86.6 billion in reparations that were given to you? With factoring, that's $860 billion. And look at how it's benefited the Jewish community. When you look at business and industry, Black Americans deserve the same. You got to give that some praise and not be sucking and jiving. And don't even talk to people who don't believe. So that's my story on the top NBA players in history. I'm going to do more of that tomorrow on Friday, but I wanted to have some time set aside for the NBA draft. I'm going to go to the live draft again.
The Washington Wizards select Jarris Walker from the University of Houston.
University of Houston, Jarris Walker, that good old boy. He was a load to deal with. A big man. He's kind of built like, in my opinion, back in the day, a smaller Wilt Chamberlain. Kind of like a Karl Malone when he came out of Louisiana Tech. But everybody has their own thoughts about who the best players are, who are the better players coming into the draft. I just gave you my thoughts on some of the best players in the history of the NBA. I'll have more of that tomorrow, and I really do appreciate it. But I also want to say, yeah, congratulations to those players that got drafted. Give them some praise. But I also want to say for Big C Sports that I'm very proud to be part of the National Black Wall Street project as we bring reparations first to California. It's due and it's time. And I want to make sure I announce it again. California Reparations Task Force, 16th meeting. Let's make history with the final report and give the final report some praise. You can join the last in-person meeting. It's going to be Thursday, June 29th, 2023, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Location, March Fong EU Secretary of State Building at 1500 11th Street in Sacramento, California, the first floor auditorium. And you can go to the website for the Department of Justice. For the people that think, oh, it's not real, go to the Department of Justice, oag.ca.gov/AB3121/meetings. That's oag.ca.gov/AB3121/meetings. And give that some praise. It's only brought to you by Big C Sports, because no sportscaster outside of Big C Sports in the universe is going to talk about reparations. They only want to talk about the NBA draft. And that's great. But Black Americans, our time is now. And we deserve that. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, if you're going to drive, don't drink. If you're going to drink, don't drive. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things that you can achieve. If you're gonna get yourself in that situation, call Uber, call Lyft, sleep it off, walk it off, whatever you do, call a friend. Don't let someone that you love drink and drive. The life you save may be your own. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you've got to use, how can you lose? Ali would say, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat, because all the Big C burgers make me laugh at my feet. That's why I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee, and I rumble, young man, rumble. My beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911. Because people change when the police show up. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, on every Big C Sports Show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super, fantastic day. Reparations now, reparations forever. In honor of the great President Abraham Lincoln, congratulations on the NBA draft. Reparations now, reparations forever. And congratulations for the NBA draft selections. One more time for Abraham Lincoln. Reparations now, reparations forever.